Good morning, everybody. I'm just checking. I should be looking different today on at least on YouTube. So you can tell me if that is true. I'm just coming up. Let's see who's joining. Yep, Instagram is on too. Let's have a look if that all works. So first guys, Amanda already joined. Good morning, Amanda. Just checking. I'm just checking if everything works technically because we are live on YouTube and Facebook too. And I'm having this new version of this thing. So let's see. Can you all hear me well? Hope that's good too. Yep, we have people joining in all things. So I would like to welcome you guys to another live here from the Great Barrier Reef, another Triton live. A lot of stuff happened this week, so was quite impressive. I survived it. I'll tell you all about it. I will just wait for some people more to join. I think Instagram. Yep, Garrett Barber. Garrett Barber, mate, how are you? Not seen you for ages. Not seen you for ages, mate. Yeah. So one thing that is new, Royal Reef is on. Hey, Royal Reef. Is that Germany? Royal Reef? Because you have DE at the end. So just still late, man. Very late in Germany. Um, JFS on Brazil is on to Jeffy. How are you, mate? I hope you feel better. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of stuff went on, and today I am on several platforms again, but the view should be different. So it is the same camera, but it should look different on YouTube today than it looks on Instagram, and you guys can check that out if you want and see if that's real. Damien Buckley, how are you, mate? Gar Griffin. Hope you're good on Facebook. What Ehsan, why is Can's so slow? What do you mean, Damien? What do you mean? Does that mean? Can's not slow, man. We're fast. Reef Sans joined. Spain is on too. That's cool. Yeah, nah. So yeah, you tell me, Damien, tell me if it landscape or is it on YouTube today? Should be. Can you just tell me that? And then I'll answer you why we're slow. We have also there's some stuff happening. Obviously we have Black Friday, so everybody in America be aware of, there's like 30% off. It's like it's crazy, right? So we're going really hard in America. So just to let you know, don't miss out on that. Very important. We also have a special on the subscription in America. So we also have Black Friday working on the subscription, right? So just make sure you know that because that's important. There's always questions about subscription and stuff. So that's one thing. And one more thing important is we have carbon back in stock in America, just to let you know. Okay. A lot of questions about that too. Um, and yes, it's quite important for a lot of people because that's a really, really good carbon, right? So and it's very hard to get for us too. Like, so just to let you know, these two things right away before you start your questions. So and now Damien is asking, seems to take long time for test processing and yes, landscape. Yeah, cool landscape. Thank you. I just wanted to know. That's cool. Damien, normally it is not super long. It is just the one thing is how we get the tests here, so I needed obviously to adapt a lot of things when I bought a machine here. It's not like it's not like Sydney or Melbourne or something. And normally you have like we have a machine in London or we have a machine in Los Angeles, right? And that's different, right? The infrastructure is different. And one thing that we have here is you ship the tests. not to our facility directly, but you ship it to the post office and somebody goes and picks them up, right? So literally Sean goes every day and picks them up and brings them to the facility. That's one thing that is different, right? So there's kind of, it's not a delay, but it is obviously, if somebody drops them off, you come into the lab, first thing is you have all your stuff there, right? So it is a bit different from the work perspective here. So if somebody, if like Sean or me or Julian or whatever is not able to go there and pick them up in the morning, for example, then we pick them up in the evening time, and then but we don't run the machine in the evening anymore. So we just go and pick them up, so we have them for the next day. You know what I mean? Like things like that happens. Last week we just had a maintenance on the machine too for a week, like so. It's not. It's workload sometimes, Damien, because we do our scientific work here with the machine. So nobody else is doing that, but and it's the only machine like of its kind in Queensland, right? And there are only 5 machines like that in whole Australia, right? So just to make sure you understand. So when I then come back with a boat and it's boating season and I need to have 200 samples run on the machine, then it also can slow down a little bit our service. Not much. We normally do all your tests beforehand, but that is also a possibility. Sometimes I need to change methods for it. So you need to test things different. Like when I go for skeleton, for example, coral skeleton, then it's different. Or shrimp. Last time we did shrimp, so you need to be another method that then cuts out. Normally I do that on the weekends. Normally I do that like now, right? Or Saturdays. So just to let you know, there is things here that are different to the rest of the world. But if it takes too long for you, let us know, and we'll kind of let you know what you possibly can do shipping wise and stuff to kind of inhibit that stuff. Okay. Oh yeah, NDOC testing. So you asked, you sent an NDOC on the 10th, still no word. Yeah. It's yeah, I remember saying it. All right, yeah, nah. NDOC is not tested here, bro. NDOC we ship always to Germany. We have the same issue with America. People think that we would have it here. We need to collect them, ship them, and it's kind of, for me that is still okay. Like you sometimes would be okay to test NDOC, right? Now it's kind of hyped a little bit because people talk about bacteria, but like I'm testing the same way NDOC on my tank, like I ship it at one point and wait for the results, and it's yeah, you shouldn't have that bad problems, to be honest. Especially when you're Triton, you don't have, like we make sure, obviously we're doing that for over 7 years now, that you don't run into the typical problems with NDOC. But again, like this is just because we ship it away. That takes long, man. Yeah, it takes longer. Okay. Yes, and that's it. Linda joined too. That's good. That's good. Quite a few people on Instagram today, but maybe I'm not sure if we did advertising for this live, but it is fine. Let's have a look. Not many on there today. Let's have a look what happens on the other accounts. I got quite a bit of things happening. This weekend was crazy actually. Linda did the free dive competition, her first one, and she got second place. Because she held her breath 5 minutes and 51 seconds officially. Congratulations, Linda. It was great. Okay, just let you know it was really good. It was a really cool competition here in Cairns, and Linda is obviously doing it like, but it was the first one here in Cairns, and that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And my daughter had her graduation, so Lani graduated, and we had the formal, which is the prom in America, like when they all dress up and stuff. And that was crazy, crazy cool. I was blown away. Nearly got tears. Actually, had tears in my eyes. So anyway, Mesha is on. Hey, good morning, Mesha. So let me know if you have any questions, guys, because I am here to answer them. And in the moment, I don't actually have any questions. Reef Sans is I would like to know if this thing's still working. Oh, and I fixed the camera, I think, so I'll cable it up. That should be good too. Let me know. We'll have a lot of boating coming this week because the weather calms down. So I guess there will be a lot of near really often going out getting some stuff done that are prepared for a long time, especially things like testing some you know phytoplankton and plankton. So let's see if that kind of works out because they were spawning obviously 2 weeks ago, weekend on 2 weeks ago, and we were there. But then I want to know how much of that is left and things like that. So how much do you still have of that spawn running around, or is it just gone right away? Things like that I want to know. I will just find out. And I would like also to know what temperature we have because it is high, it's hot, right? So because normally, like Vincent said, the temperature will trigger them to go, but then afterwards, after the spawning, the temperature need to come down because otherwise they're stressed out and everything starts bleaching. So I want to check on that too. And there will be a lot of stuff going on. Good morning, Rice Matt. How are you? So I can't. Thank you, thank you. It was great. I never had a formula in Australia. Never done that before. So I was blown away. It was absolutely cool, you know. And Linda's thing was brilliant. Anyway, you guys can hear me very well. Yeah, you should. It works pretty good today. So guys, if you have any questions, shoot them, right? So and I can't see you online. I've got a lot of people on YouTube, um, and Facebook, but I can't see you as long as you're not saying something, right? I only see everybody on Instagram. So just to let you know this is the case, okay? So let's see what's happening. Let's see what's happening. Anybody, any question? I've maybe answered all the questions already. Who knows? Who knows? It's so funny. I had one, what was it? There was one thing that I actually had in my mind that I wanted to answer you guys. Oh yeah, there was something um that somebody asked me last week, and it was if the elements have relation to each other when you do reef keeping, if there is any relation between them um in the ocean or something like that, if we see something. And yeah, realistically, that is a question because there is advertising kind of around it, I guess. You know, there'll be companies or people saying that there should be a relation between, I don't know, manganese and iodine or whatever, right? And I want to tell you that this is not true at all, right? So there is no relation between elements in seawater in the way that you would say that this is making any sense. Okay, so elements are separated from each other, right? So if I put a lot of barium in my tank, my strontium will not go up. Only my barium will go up, right? And in the ocean and in nature and everywhere else, this is the same thing. So there's spots in nature where you will find an more of one coral, like for example, more elegance coral, right? Like or more torches, right? Or more acropora. And these areas sometimes have specific trace elements available, right? And that doesn't mean that you will then find, so then let's say that there is strontium more available there because of something. Like we have places with manganese more available because there's a mine, right? So if you look at that, then the manganese will go up, but nothing else will go up related to it because it's a mine for manganese, right? And that manganese causes a lot of coral to grow nicely. But nothing related to that. The same thing counts for when you have, let's say, somewhere strontium in fresh water coming in, and then, but it's only strontium. It's not having a relation with barium in that place. That's what makes it so special, right? So you end up like confusing people. I think something hit my camera. You're back, guys. I hope you're back. Yep, you're back. And well, I'll just get that camera. Lindy, can you get that camera straightened up again? Because no, just underneath. Yep, that's it. Just a little bit to the other side. Just a little bit to the other side. Oh, I'll move. That's fine. I think you should be fine. So I'll move. Can you see me, guys? All right. I'll just sorry further. So yeah, so it doesn't make sense to put any relation on any of this kind of, elements somehow. It just doesn't make sense, right? So when you have an element, you have an element, right? And there is to add a lot of elements together into your tank doesn't make sense, not at all, right? So it's not like, oh, when barium is missing, then strontium is missing, or when strontium is missing is barium missing. That's actually the wrong thing we did before ICP testing, and that is not making sense. I just wanted to let you know that this is the reality of things. This is explainable, and you need to look at the one single by single. It's if you go, it is easier for a company to produce a product that is all in one bottle, right? That's the easiest thing. So if they can do that and sell you that, that's also the easiest thing for you. You grab it. We do that by doing the subscription, which makes it very complicated for us, but then for you it's super easy and logical. But if you start saying, making the world to suit you as a company and just say, oop, no, I found that this is all related, so I'll put them in one bottle. Here you go, mate. That's the easiest way. I don't think that is a good way for the customer. I think it's just making things easier for yourself as a company, without bringing any value to the industry or to your customer. So just to let you know that these things are around, and you need to, look behind this kind of argumentation. But no, there is actually no relationship, right? And there is also no relation between calcium and magnesium, for example. Kind of, there is not, right? It's in seawater there will be always the same amounts, but you know what I mean? Like if you add magnesium in your tank, the magnesium will go up. The calcium will stay where it is. So, what is the relationship? No relationship, right? So it's just the way it is, So you need to just look. That's a very important one, actually. So there is a question. There you go. What do you think about using ozone generators in aquariums? Can they oxidize trace elements? Yes, mate, they can. They oxidize everything because that's one of the strongest oxidization like things on Earth, let's say, right? So they oxidize everything. The question is, do you want an oxidized version of your trace elements, or do you want a non-oxidized one? So all these elements have their own, like chemically, they have a oxidization state. So they are oxidized, let's say. There are some of them are not, right? So the question is, do you want like iron 2 or iron 3, for example? In the case of iron, you want iron 2, because that is the one that the corals take. And then you would oxidize iron very quickly, and then you would lose the efficiency of it, right? Some people but want iron 3. So if you look at the trace elements, because iron 3 will rip out your phosphate, right? So it will take it out. That's phosphate remover, kind of. So it is very depending. But ozone, because it is so aggressive, it's biologically harming your tank more. So it is not about the trace elements in this case. It is more about an unrealistically high oxidization that you won't find in nature, which is harming your animals. Like they're not made for living in an ozonized area. And in a little proportion, it is good for fish, for example, because it kills the parasite, right? Um, and breaks the chains of their metabolism, or of their life cycle. But if you then go too high, then you harm corals. Like it's just aggressive. So that is the main issue. It's not the oxidization of trace elements. There's oxidization of nitrogen. So there will be nitrate produced. You actually have chemically, you can use it very well in an aquarium, but it is not, it's the downside is not the chemical downside. The downside is biologically, you kill bacteria, you kill everything little, you kill. And that is the downside of it. Okay. So if you still have questions, you have to let me know, Matt. But that is, I don't like using ozone because it is a very sterile kind of, it causes, at the end of the day, it causes more problems. And if you want to keep very, very delicate coral, it's also not working out very well for me. Never did. Okay, so I tried several times. It's a very old technology too. Like it's for a long time on the market, but I never had a thing, that I really used it a long time. Aqua Killer, Louise, how are you, mate? I always see you only when you post a question. Why don't I see you before? Might be your picture, bro. You need to work on your picture a bit more punchy, more punchy. Flor Mignodo is on too. So hey guys, just jumped on Instagram. Sorry, I just if anybody YouTube or Facebook has something, just post it up, right? So why does the iron in some salt mixes cause orb to completely drop excessively? Some salt mixes that use other types of iron won't drop orb. So, Akokila, I don't think it is the iron itself that drops your orb. I need to tell you that iron in salts are not in there because of trace element iron, right? So if you find iron or manganese in salt, which you find very often, and it's not a big problem, it is anti-caking product. So you put that in, the producers of salt put that in, and there is not many producers of salt in the world, of salt for saltwater aquariums. They put that in. Some of them don't have any alternative, and they put it in because otherwise the salt will be clogged up as a block. So over time, these things are getting produced in a big amount, and they'll shipped over the world, and your salt bucket could be 2 years old because we don't produce salt like permanently like that. Like this is not a car industry and fuel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just not. So if you look at it that way, you understand that you need something that keeps that salt, nice and salty. And that is when they put the anti-caking stuff in. So there's different types of anti-caking depending on which sodium chloride you use in that salt, which is table salt, right? So because the salt will be 70% table salt, mainly that anti-caking will come from that. So 70% of that, and then you will have other little things that I try to put in. There will be no trace elements in salt. That's just not chemically working. There's no explanation for how to do that. And also how to, it's just like, oh, we have this amount of trace elements. Nobody will tell you exact amount of trace elements on a bucket. That's also something that you need to know. It's just a gray zone to tell you there's trace elements in there. And iron is a trace element, so it is just that stuff. And the orb drops. It drops in some cases. It might not be the iron. It might not be iron at all. It's just the one that you will see possibly coming up. And that's it. I don't really know too much about orb 2. I'm not using orb at all. But that is the reality of things. So don't if you go the way of, what is happening with my salt, for example, that experiment is more it's a more detailed one. It's a different one that you're doing there. It depends on really having a goal on what you're doing to find out. Like, it's just not if you go there and just found out, oh, look, my orb drops on this one, my orb doesn't drop on that one. Why do you want to have that information at all? Like, this is the next concept. What would that help you to understand? And then you need to produce a project that goes that way and tells you something out of this information that you can then practically use on your aquarium. For me, obviously, I'm not doing any water changes, right? So I'm possibly the wrong person to ask here why that happens. I can possibly find out for you if that is coming from the iron, but like, for me, it's not bringing me anything. Like, this is what I can put a lot of effort into it, but then it's not really bringing any of my customers any benefit. That is the issue I always have. It's always the same thing. The amazing diver man is on. Hey, Matt, nice to see you here. So Bowie's on, and yep, some people on. Anybody else have a question, guys? I'll just check on the other side. Chris is on. Chris, hello. What do you keep your nitrate and phosphate at? Right. So my nitrate and phosphate are outer barrier reef. Nitrate is not measurable, never. So we'd never have nitrate in this tank, and it is very hard to bring it up. And we have phosphate of 6p, so that is 0.018, goes up to 0.024-ish, 26-ish, and never leaves that place. So it is an absolute nutrient poor area, which is exactly the reflection of where my corals are coming from. And this is what you can see. The tank is gone crazy. It's nice. Everything is on the rock, and literally you do not lose any coral in there. And it's the other thing that is very nice is all the like things that gets you crazy, like cyanobacteria, little algae grows everywhere, brown stuff on the sand. It's nothing there. It's just nothing there. It's just it's too low for them to survive in these areas. So it's what we keep. That's what we keep it at, and everything is super happy. To lose phosphate out of the tank completely is very, very hard. So that is a nearly impossible thing. We had some issues this time with posting up results in America, where there was actually 0 readings, and somebody came up, said, I have a 0 reading in phosphate, and I said, like, oh well, that's kind of because I'll upload every test, so I see always when there is a phosphate of 0, so it's like you'll see all this data as numbers everywhere, and all of a sudden one is 0. This is the way phosphates, like low phosphate amounts, would, that's just so rare, right? Just 1% of all tests maybe, and less than that. And then I right away said, nah, that's impossible. You can't, like, that's not. And I looked it up. So it's like, very, very rare. So just to let you know, low phosphate is okay, but 0 phosphate on an ICP, very rare. Very, very rare. Okay, just to let you know. So perfect. I was told to keep my nitrate at 25. I remember the old school way, they always aim for 0, so I wasn't sure and run it like that for a long time, and always hear allergy. Anyway, I just dropped it to 10 and the hair algae is disappearing. Yeah, that's what it is, Chris. It's very easy. I'm just, this is okay. So there is right now a try. So we came here, right? We came here, and 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I came with my family here. And I also started the movement of understanding seawater in a deeper way, right? So nobody was interested in trace elements, understanding them or what they do. They were interested in selling them. That is what they're interested in. So when it's similar with amino acids, right? So they are there, they appear for sale on the shelf before anybody of you or anybody else could measure them in a saltwater aquarium, right? That's because there is interest in selling things. And that's the biggest interest in an industry, to sell you something. And that was what got me into now. I don't want to only sell something. I want to understand it. And I want to sell something real. That's what TRITON is built. That's the fundamental thing that my company does. Is first we understand something, make it valuable for our customer, then we sell it. We're not going the old school way of just, you know, just selling and then talking about it, everything possible, just explain really long things that doesn't make sense at all scientifically and just put it out there, just here you go, and please buy it. So that is something that I want to tell you with nitrate and phosphate and a lot of other things that nowadays, because we did this, we actually moved towards that. We then moved to the ocean, and then we now do our next levels, let's say next level aquarium science is us being doing testing in the ocean, because nobody else ever did that with that intention or effort for the aquarium industry, right? And nobody is doing it except us still, because otherwise there will be another company being here with an ICP, with a boat, and doing the same thing, right? But now that causes that obviously companies couldn't or can't do this scientific work, to go there and just say, no, the seawater is far away. Seawater is not the right thing. Put 25, keep your nitrate at 25. Keep this element at this because it's better for your coral. It's aquarium science. And that is sadly just a lie. So what you need to do is you need to replicate your, the environment where your coral is from. That's where it developed for millions of years. It is born there. It is grown on a rock there, and this is the environment it wants. There's not another environment we are right now aware of that a coral would grow better. And little changes in a coral reef already starts bleaching everything out. Like just a little bit of temperature, just a little bit of fresh water, they get upset. That's what you're keeping in your tank, right? You keep a very strictly in one area grown coral, and that's they're not in, they are specifically at spaces where everything matches. That's where they grow. So have that in mind. When somebody says, oh no, yeah, that's in the ocean, but never keep corals like in the ocean, that's just it's just not correct. So the habitat your coral is, the habitats that most corals are from, nearly all of them, is around 2 milligrams of nitrate when it comes up really high, right? That's where they're from. 2, maybe 5 is acceptable. And phosphate is always super low, right? That's what it is. And that's what you need to keep it at. That's so simple. The same counts. Who is keeping their calcium as at 200 or at 700? Which one of you is doing that? And if somebody comes to you, if I come to you and say, hey guys, keep your calcium at 1,300 because I'll just say it, because magnesium is also 1,300, something like that. Who would do that? Like, why should you do that? It's just a waste. It's just, there's no 1,300 calcium in the sea. That's what it is. Just look at the ocean and it makes sense, right? That's what I could say about it. So Coral Sea joined too. The Sea Dream joined too. Hey, mate, how are you guys? Any other question you have? I'm actually going quite fine in all these things. Sorry for that. So what NO3, PO4 levels do you recommend for an LPS only aquarium? So look, LPS are very similar to SPS from that regards. They like a little bit turbid water, right? But that doesn't mean that that water is not clean. When I test the water here and whether your LPS are collected, the water itself, without all the stuff that is in it, like without all the living, all the particles in it, is a very similar low nutrient water like the outer reef. The only difference is that whatever is close to the mainland, and they're often closer to the mainland, has a little bit more what comes from the mainland, and that is a little bit more nutrient that is, but mainly like not that much light and stuff, like it's kind of another habitat where it's very turbid. So they eat a lot, and they can use that food to, produce or take the nutrients up, right? And that's what is different to when you say LPS to SPS. Often, not always, but very often. And you can keep it a little bit higher than you would, because this stuff then produces, the higher nutrient allow other things to grow, right? So you need to understand that when you're hiring your nutrient, that doesn't affect your coral immediately. That is not the case. So high nutrients, it's not like the coral doesn't like that, right? It's getting brown possibly, but it's not like it doesn't like that or dies from it. But what then happens is, in that area where they live in your aquarium, then other little things get the possibility to grow too and to live, because they need a higher amount of nutrient. So what you have is a desert. Imagine that you have a desert and there is the corals living in the desert, and they're happy because they don't need anything else. They're used to the desert, to low amounts of water, let's say. Now the nutrient is the water, and then now you start putting water around the corals, like just water them, just it's a metaphoric thing, right? And then all of a sudden little green plants will grow, because they need the water more than the corals need it. And so the nutrient is the same thing. If nutrients are added, then other things start growing. And that causes sometimes stress to the coral. So this is the problem in the ocean. It is passive, a passive thing. It's not an active damage. It's a passive damage. It's coming later. Your habitat changes, So as soon as you put too much nutrient in, then other things start to grow. And some corals do not like that, especially not the ones that come in from the really, really low nutrient area, because they are not used to any competition like that. They just don't have it, right? They grow there because they don't have competition. Nothing is coming up to fight with them for the space. But if you do that, if you get rising nutrients, then other stuff will start growing, and then there's competition. They will possibly lose. Maybe there's hair algae growing everywhere. They lose against the hair algae. And that's why you want to keep the habitat like it is, because that's where they're from. What you have with LPS is when you add the nutrients, other stuff start growing too. But some of it might be good food for them, right? So you can raise it a little bit. I would keep it at 5, the nitrate, and I wouldn't go too far up with the phosphate. Everything till 0.07 phosphate is okay, is fine. I've seen that in the ocean, that it raises up to that amount sometimes, and that's why 0.07 is my golden rule for phosphate. Okay, and for nitrate is not that important to nail it down that way. But around 5, I would say, is fine, right? So just to let you know. Okay, so that was nutrients. Gloria, how are you, Gloria? I hope you're good over there. So not too many questions this Sunday, which is fine. And I'm not, I'm pretty happy, because this week was crazy. The next week will be very, very science and boating. So it will be very scientific work on the reef week, because the weather is coming down and it's the time now. So just to let you know, maybe next Sunday might be we'll run one from the boat again, one of the lives, and maybe I can show you some stuff that we you know, I mean, we'll be prepared. I've did that on the that one that was at the night on the reef. That was a hard one, honestly. Where we went to the coral spawning. That's always a difficult one because driving in the reef at night is scary, really scary. You don't want to hit anything. That's pretty scary. But yeah, now it's kind of daytime. We'll definitely use a drone again. We'll probably use the grabber. I will try to get to spots where there is only elegant coral. I'll try to get to a spot and get you some footage from these places with Echinada if I can reach them. Linda possibly, because she's diving 40 meters deep without oxygen, should be able to do that. But also strawberry shortcake. I'm trying to look at and show you some habitats because there's like sometimes there's a lot of them, you know. So I just want to make sure I cover that this year, kind of a bit of more habitat specific, like how specific for one coral. I had a talk to Luis. He told me some really interesting stuff that he wanted to do because he's very obsessed with speciosa. And I got told from a coral scientist here, a good friend of mine, that there is speciosa here too. And actually, Gallery Aquatica said that too. So I'm going to look at that. I didn't think it's here, but it is actually here. So that will be something too. Hey, G Carroll is on. Greg, give me a question. I'm low on questions this live. It's good you made it. You want to come on? You want to come on? I'll put. Oh, no, I can't. Can I? Can I put you on here? No, I don't think I can. I'll find out how it works. Yeah, I can. I have a thing here. I'll just can possibly send you this. If you wanna join. I'll try. G, you good with that? Greg? Want me to try something? I am not sure how to get you this, so okay, that's all right. I just want to try. I did it last time before. I never did it spontaneously. I did it last time with Vincent Thomas when he was at the boat, you know, and on the boat when we are going to see him. But yes, spontaneously a bit hard. Before I just click a button on Instagram and then it would work, but nowadays anyway. So Damien is on. Damien asking another one. How much importance do you place on pH? Some consider it a critical, others don't care and only concern themselves with alkalinity. Obviously, the two are inextricably linked. I understand. Sorry, Matt. I don't use that words with me. I still have a German part of me, and that's hard. Okay, I'm not growing up here. Anyway, so yes, Damien, you are right. I think pH is quite important. That was something that I talked to the boys too, and I think Greg and Louise have their thing going there. Where Greg is saying, "Don't chase numbers, Louise." That's Aquakiller, and Aquakiller is saying, "Oh, no, I need to chase numbers." That's why you're saying that, right? So yes, pH is important, and how important is it to nail it down? That's the question. So I think everything between 7.9 to 8.4 is okay, and you don't want to have too many swings, right? So the swinging of the pH is an issue that you need to look at more. And that's an important thing. So day and night, like, you know, in the morning and the evening. You do not have that too much with TRITON systems because TRITON systems have that reverse cycle of light and that already buffers the pH to be stable at a specific point. But what that point is exactly is first off very hard to determine. It's very hard to measure it. It's not easy to measure pH exactly for you guys, right? So and also for me, like, it's not really that easy. It looks easy, but it's not. And you know that when you doing the droplet test or you use all the paper and stuff that changes color. It's not that precise, you know. So be precise from 7.9 to 8.4, somewhere in that range you will be naturally. 8.2, 8.3 is nature, right? So that's where you should be. Lower than that is dangerous. Low is dangerous, or high is not as dangerous. Okay. So if you go on lower than 7.9, go on 7.8 and stuff, then be aware you may be running into trouble. You go higher than that, don't freak out for now, you know, just to let you know. That's something important too. What pH does though is, right, you say it is when you measure your alkalinity, you actually measure when you reach your pH of 4.6, 4.8 or something. When you add acid to your seawater. This is the drops you put in or the syringe you get up. That's acid. You add the acid, and then at one point you reach another pH, and then the color turns, because the color is bound, like this coloration that is in there, it will turn at 4.6 or 4.8. So then, or lower than that, depends on what liquid you use. But then you know how much like alkalinity you have. And now if you imagine you starting with more pH, then obviously it takes longer. So you will measure more alkalinity. And if you have lower pH, you would obviously be there faster. So you have lower pH, lower alkalinity. So you're not really testing your alkalinity. You know, it's always tested bind to the thing. And Damien, I know if you have test send an NDoc, you know that we're testing inorganic carbon, which is the true alkalinity, therefore, right? But yes, I care about my pH. I don't care as much as I care about my alkalinity, right? So I always measure alkalinity every day, in a moment, every day, twice with the Alkatronic. And I didn't do that before. I always did it by hand, but the Alkatronic is a really good system for me because it just takes away that thing. It's very, very convenient. And that's helping a lot. But then pH, that thing is also measuring my pH. But pH I test still on my own too, which is liquids, you know, just to make sure. I just want to make sure that from time to time, but I'm not doing it every day. I'm doing it like every week, you know. But I care. Like about every other parameter I would care too. Okay. So I missed one question. Sorry. The boy known as fish. All right. So sorry, Matt. I didn't see that. I'm coming to you, and I think now the question's coming in on the other side too. So when using core 7, do you increase the dosing of ALK, calcium and magnesium in equal amounts, or can you increase in different amounts? You can increase in different amounts, but it's a sign of there's something not exactly working like in 80, 85% of all other reef tanks in the world. Just to let you know. So it is a sign of, you know, you're losing something more than the other one, or let's say calcium, for example, and that you need to have a reason. So you can improve the tank if this is the case. Before you can do it, there's no issue, but then you can improve to go closer to the values you should be at. And that's when I dose right now everything the same, it's perfect, right? That's what I mean. So you kind of aim for the same thing. But it's not a deal breaker, or it's not nothing you should be concerned of if that is the case, especially when it happens from time to time or in the beginning of the tank, in the start phase, like in a year, in the first year. That's always very much possible because some stuff grow. It's depending on what rock you have in there. If you only have live rock, normally it's more balanced. If you have artificial rock, it's different. It can take the artificial rock can just take stuff out of your tank like a filter, and then you end up not. Oh, was it something dropped there behind in my garden? So yeah, it's not dangerous or something. It's just you look at it. Why? Find out why. We can help you if you want to. Just bring me some information. I can help you here, but you know our support is amazing. So you just send an email and explain some stuff to them, and then we'll find the reason. You know, but that's kind of a thing that I would say, yep, you know, work on that. Like there's a reason why it's not similar, you know, in uptake. So what is yeah, I Instagram. I'm just jumping on Instagram, guys. Wait a second. There's Gar Griffin on Facebook too. He asked something and he said something. Why does everyone panic about bottoming out nutrients if zero nitrates and almost zero phosphate is fine and everything's doing well? Gar Griffin, that's because you can sell nutrients too. So if you go panic mode, people, then they go into the shop and say, "What can I do?" And then the shopkeeper can say, "Here you go. If I have a bottle of nitrate and I have a bottle of phosphate." That's why. It's no other reason. I've not seen any other reason. In nature, they are bottom out. There is nothing literally in there. So, you know, yeah, corals will eat too, you know, like, I mean, if you have a sterile system with ozone everywhere and then you bottom out your nitrogen and your phosphate, that might be, you know, too low and there's no food available. If you're not having a TRITON method, we produce food every day, right? Then maybe it's too much, but, and you need to add it, you know? But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know why I panic. I mean, definitely not killing coral if you are having nitrates undetectable. It's not zero. It's just not detectable for yourself. You know, like that's the main thing. I wouldn't panic anyway. Panic is always bad. Okay, Damien says mine is 7.8 pH. Yep, that's all right, mate. Just measure several times, please, because that's might be the reason. So a lot of problems come from measuring pH, and then something is wrong with the probe or something is wrong with the liquid, and then you think you're 7.8, you're actually 8.1. Um, will Dragon's Breath do okay at 5 nitrate? Yes, it will. I've seen that. I've seen that in the Cairns aquarium, in the public aquarium tank here. Was fine, but Dragon's Breath not easy to keep. No, like it's hard. So it's not an easy. It's something you need to care for. Just to let you know, Chris. Not an easy. It's not having to do with nitrate only or something. There is other stuff, you know, that need to be done. Okay, so Echo Killer, I'm coming back to Instagram. Sorry, Instagram. I'm on again. Okay, so what do I miss, Linda, on Instagram?
You have a representative in Iran.
We have a representative in Iran. Not yet. No. It is, though, very hard to get chemical products into Iran. Just to let you know. Okay? So if you're interested, send us an email, man. It will be a pleasure. And yeah, I would love to work with you guys, but it is difficult because of sanctions and stuff. So you need to be good in getting stuff there. So, see any sharks while you dive? Yes, Laura. We have a lot of sharks here. A lot of sharks. There was last time I went out pretty far. There was a big silver tip, a massive shark, just coming right back at the boat. I thought it hits the motors. Massive. And there's friends of Linda last time went to a very close reef, not very far away. They're two spear fishermen. And I met them on the competition, and they said they saw a 4 meter, 4 to 5 meter. What was it? The tiger shark, just in the shallows. So yeah, Gloria, you see them. It's okay. So okay, that's fine. So what else? By the way, he's saying my tin came down. I just did a two of water changes. The new ICP had significantly lower levels of tin. Perfect, Gloria. Perfect. Nothing else to do. Just watch it, so it's not going up again, and you should be fine. It's not deadly anyway. Like it's not that super scary stuff, you know. So it's just that's all right. So what else do we have, Lindy?
The next question you answered already. I think that was on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, yep. That's Joe. Yep, that's the same. Yeah. So I do see a higher consumption at 8.3. Yes, that might be Greg. It might, but also be because if your pH goes up, then you can have a little bit more precipitation too. You know, that's also a reason. So it's not only it's easier for coral to grow. That's definitely also something that might be easier for them to build the skeleton. But it's also promoting more precipitation if you want. So in some cases, not always, but that's also something you need to have in mind. We in Instagram have priority of questions. We are the OGs of the live stream. Yes, you're right. I am. I will cut the finger off today because I did something wrong, Luis. Sorry, man. Sorry. So I'm gone. I'm gone. Luis. Okay. So what else, Linda? Do you have anything else? Oh, there's Mina is here. Yep, that's good. Okay, Mina.
Yes, I have a lot of detritus microparticles in the display tank, so I'm tempted to get a filter roll, but I know this goes against the TRITON method. Do you have any suggestions on how I can manage?
Joseph, how old is this tank? How long do you have the particles for? That's one question to me. And I would suggest some patience. Is that something you want to hear? I don't know, but I do it that way. I wait until enough filtering animals come up and they filter my water because they eat that stuff, right? I do not like to be that replacement for that animal and pay it by filtering stuff on my own, by filter socks and stuff. It's not going against the TRITON method. It is just not needed in the TRITON method. So I would be a bit patient. Some things just come with time, and that is one of them. The clear water. Some have it. Luckily, use all live rock. If you've done that, I don't know. Have you done that? Do you have live rock in there? A lot of it. Then you get the clear water nearly instantly, like in a day or something. Was it in a day, Linda? Wasn't it? So, but all these little things are important to understand what to do next, and that is one of them. Like I need information and then I can recommend you stuff. But one of the things is patience. You need to sometimes wait for that super clear water and then you get it. And then it's the same thing with this massive growth that we have right now. It's just you wait for it a little bit and then boom, everything goes crazy.
Tank is running for 3 to 4 months, live rock only in sump.
A little bit more live rock would help, makes it a bit faster. And 4 months, I wouldn't add anything. Just wait a little bit longer. This is still running in time. So a tank really looks good after a year, at least a year. Then you have solved a lot of things. Then you have grown a biological habitat. If you were good, and the TRITON method definitely works, but that's what we're aiming for that year of stabilization. You can keep corals, and fish will be happy and you're feeding and everything, but all the cycles of metabolism are not running until you reach a year. That's what I say to the boys in the lab right now too. So our tank in the lab right now, the TRITON 2.0, is beautiful. It's like you have crazy colors, crazy growth, unbelievable polyp extension, right? But I know it will be better. It will be even better than that, right? So it just takes a while. Okay. A bit of patience, a little bit of more live rock in the top tank. I would recommend that. Okay. So what do we have? What else? Yep.
I recently heard from other ICP vendors calling for different parameters than seawater. What is your thoughts on aquarium water versus seawater?
Yeah, so I think that's gone into a very specific direction. And yes, I kind of explained that before, Mina, when we had no questions. This is not really making sense. So really what we did was we brought ICP to the market, to our industry, and created the methods, and then we created the set points that are still used by all the vendors, which are based on a mixture of whatever we measured in seawater and in aquarium water, because mainly in Germany we were only able to measure aquarium water, you know. So we went to holidays, got some water. We got partnerships with Cairns Marine. They send us water in the past. I'm talking here about. But then to reach the next level of understanding saltwater aquariums, we needed to come here, build a lab here, get a boat to move towards the next level of understanding seawater and science in seawater for aquariums. And I'm saying that for aquariums because we did a lot of stuff when we were still in Germany, like ages ago. We were the first one starting it. So that was done already. And then the next level is to now go and check out how do they live in the ocean, what is the parameters they can't take, go specific by some corals, you know, from coral to coral, that are interesting for the people. That is nowadays the non plus ultra. Do you say that, right? So if somebody says that science in the ocean or in natural salt water is not the right thing to do, and you need to only do it in closed system aquariums, which are heavily different to whatever you measure here to there, and there will be so many uncontrolled parameters, then I would say it's absolutely wrong. You know, there is no, it is more there is a goal for maybe getting us out of the way. You know, we're maybe a too big danger because we have the knowledge, and we produce more knowledge, and that might be the reason for it. Just push us away so nobody can come and say, yeah, but Triton is doing all this stuff in the ocean, and what are you doing here? You know, where do you know that stuff from? And that's a lot of people don't like that, so they push that away. But the reality is, like I say, every parameter that we're talking about is a habitat specific one. So when you are asking anybody what calcium level do I need, they will say, yeah, minimum is 420. And that minimum is coming from the ocean because your corals are grown up there, because your corals are from there and they have developed over millions of years there. So you go for 420 in a minimum of calcium. Nobody will go lower than that. And you say, not too high too, because that's kind of not natural too, right? And the same counts with every other parameter still. So the science we do here is very valuable. The science we did in the when we still do in the aquariums is very valuable from the other side of perspective. You need both. So the one is showing you the extremes. So in closed systems, we found out that a copper level of over 20 microgram is starting the bleaching, because you will never find a 20 microgram level here in the ocean until I find that. That's like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the one. So for the extremes, for what is hurting our coral, the science in the closed systems in coral farms like Worldwide Corals or people's home aquaria are very interesting. And we use the TRITON method for that too. So we have the only standard that we can really compare things. How much vanadium is dangerous, how much stuff. So you don't panic. On the other hand, what does a coral need? How do I supply it? What is the best way to supply it? How much do they eat? Which coral? Why is that coral speciosa so hard to keep in an aquarium? That is questions that you get answered by doing scientific work on the reef. That's what we do here. So these two are balancing each other out. You can't have really a lot of benefits from only one side. You need both sides. You need to look at what do I replicate? That's the ocean one. And what is the extremes that I need to avoid? That's the aquarium one. If you want to break it down, that's the reality of things, right? And the reason saying different would just be because you can't do it. You know, you can't do both, or you kind of feel left behind. That's what I would say is the reason for it. Just to let you know. If you have more questions like that, just let me know, because it's a very, yeah, it's a, like I said, it is you need to understand that that's what we do here is quite important. You know, if we wouldn't do it here, then nobody would actually know anything. Good afternoon at all. After all, hey, Alicia is on. Here you go. So what is Gloria saying? I'd be scared, but I guess they don't bother you if you don't bother them. Yeah, mostly. Spearfishing wise, you're talking about sharks. So Gloria's talking about sharks. Spearfishing wise, it's not what you want to really see. You know, they because you go for their fish when you spearfish, and then that's the most, I would say, confrontative one. If you go snorkeling, you want to see one. You don't want to see a tiger shark or a bull shark, and you won't if you go snorkeling here. But you will see a reef shark. And they're little, nice. They're not that little, but they really don't do anything. Like you try to chase them, they'll always be afraid of you, you know. But there's beautiful baby sharks too. They're babies. Like there's a place where they get their babies, and then like there's hundreds of babies just on the beach, little ones, you know. So it's beautiful. It's an animal. It's not too dangerous. I mean, you know, the big ones you don't want to see, but the little ones are beautiful. No problem. You don't need to be scared. Sorry. If you come here, all good, all good. And Aquila said, yeah, particles are food. Correct. That's good stuff. Not all, but most of them. And do I have anything else as I'm coming back to Facebook because run out of Instagram? So sorry. How long do you recommend running and do what do you have? Yeah. Yes. So Sean Russell. Hey, good day, Sean. It's very late, isn't it? How long do you recommend running a new system if the end goal is SPS dominant? As in, do you run an empty system for month and month? No. I don't do that. So what we do is I will actually make a video about how to run in a TRITON tank or how to cycle tank. But normally it's 1 month. So 1 month, 4 weeks to 6 weeks, and you run through that. There's an ugly phase where sometimes where you have a lot of algae grown because you know the live rock you put in, it will partially die, especially when you put it in mixed up bucket salt water, like you know the salt that you buy, the brands, the salt mixes. Then a 30%, 50% of the surface dies and the inner part. So there's stuff that you can't keep; they just die, and that makes your water dirty, kind of. New nutrients go up, and it starts the whole kind of up and down of pH, of K, a lot of things. Like really, nitrate goes up, comes down. So that is a cycle, and if when that is over, you get a stable situation, which is not super stable. It's still going on, and I said that before for a year or so. But that is already where you can keep a lot of coral, right? So, and adding the coral also give you more stability. So it is because then they start metabolism. You adding fish starts metabolism, right? So that's what you want in a biological filtration like the TRITON method. And then your algae will have that reverse cycle. Your algae will grow to start more metabolism. And that's what you want. You want to run this thing. You want this metabolism cycles to run quick and fast. And it's a bit like when you're running a bike, right? So when you're driving a bike, this cycles is similar when you're driving a bike and you go very slow, very hard to balance, right? But when you go faster, it balances easy, right? That's the same way in a brain, very similar. So this is what I do. Like a month or 1.5, I have rocks in there, no coral, no fish, and everything is working like it should. Just all the lights are on, everything is exactly like I would run a reef tank normally, and then and I have algae in the sump, and then at one point I start add fish. So I add a lot of fish first, and then not right away, step by step, and then at one point I start coral SPS. That's the way I start my SPS tank. That's the way I start my tank, or our tank here is now my second. The TRITON 2.0 is now 6 months old. I still owe you a video, but there was too much going on, but I will do that. So I had a 3 month video done. You can have a look at that. and then you'll see what I'm talking about. It's SPS dominant too. I am an SPS dominant guy. Right? Matthew is on. Hey, Matthew. He's on Facebook. Do you advise dosing iron to a Triton reef was using the other methods? So no refugium. Sean, you can do that. Iron is not that bad. It's just if it you just watch out for when you're having a very low phosphate amount in that tank. Because like I said before, it turns into iron 3 at one point, then it will take your phosphate. It's liquid phosphate remover then, right? So some people actually do that for that reason. They add iron because to get rid of their phosphate, like people would use lanthanum chloride, just to let you know. So there's the only downside for it. And also it tends to turn your sand a little bit reddish, like underneath, you get like some reddish stripes sometimes because that's the color of it, it kind of sometimes in the sand there's areas where all the iron will stick to some sand and just color it a little bit. It's like a stain. Some people do not like that, but that's the only thing, bro. Nothing more than that to it. Okay, I'm battling cyano. Sean Stewart. I'm battling cyano. I just received cyano. That's the product. What should I look for on a negative and positive side? So, Sean, the cyano battle that goes against your cyanobacteria, when the cyanobacteria has the advantage of having a lot of nitrogen sources, for example, or other nutrient sources that it can use, while other life forms like algae, for example, do not have enough of that stuff that they need to compete with it. So what you're looking for is when you start the cyno, if something else starts growing in that same area, you won't see it right away. It's more likely that you see that the fighting that you don't see that bacteria or algae that is growing, but they will fight the cyanobacteria and take over their spot, and that's what you want. And yes, that is what actually will happen. So you look for you keep dosing it. Also check your nitrate levels because this is the easiest way to determine if you have enough of the dosage of cyano. So it has nitrate embedded in it, so the nitrate will raise with the other stuff. And don't overdo it, but I will run it for a month. Again, it's a bit of you need to build that competition. I would run it for a month or 6 weeks at least, and then come back and ask us. So what you would see is possibly that this cyanobacteria gets a big lump if you don't take it away, and then floats up to the surface. The standard thing it does sometimes when it's in the life cycle. But when you take it away, at one point, I would take it away. I would try to take away while I'm doing the cyano product, and then look if you have a similar amount of growth back. That's when you should. At one point, you should see you open up that space for the competition, and then the competition will take over. And you will see spots that are free from cyano, and that's a good sign. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you have a rock, then it's all over cyano or the sand, and then you start dosing, and then you take that cyano away. The cyano will come back, but then there will be spots that might not have cyano. That's a good sign for you that it's working. You know what I mean? And that's where the other competition have settled, and that's what you want. And they get then grown, they grow bigger, and the cyano slowly goes away. Sometimes it just goes from one day to the other, but that's very rare. Just to let you know. Okay. So Sean Stewart, anything else? Let me know, mate. No worries, Sean. That's good. So just jump back to Instagram because that is the OG, like Akakila said, but I don't see anything there. Sean came back. Do you think that it's possible that CO2 could ever become too low and become a problem if you are using CO2 scrubber on a skimmer, kalkwasser, refugium, etc.? Just curious. I think I know the answer. Yeah, mate, yes, it is possible. I said that the last time to Julian and Sean last time when we were in front of the tank. He said we need to be careful for not running no CO2 because obviously CO2 is needed for any kind of photosynthesis, right? So I think nowadays, yes, it's possible, especially because people also use a you know, the rebreather, the stuff that you use in a rebreather that takes out the CO2 before it actually enters the skimmer. And that's possible. But with a lot of fish or some bigger fish, I think the most of the people would run into that issue. Um, if you have an SPS dominant tank like mine, and then everything is grown like crazy, and you have like a really big amount of coral, but just a few fish kind of compared to it, and you're running a lot of liquid in there, like core 7, which is high in pH, which takes also CO2, because everything high in pH will take your CO2. Then also you could run into a limitation, nothing dangerous, I would say, but in a limitation that you could have more growth and better coral better coral habitat if you would add a little bit of CO2, you know. But that would be enough to use a calcium reactor. That's why I have my calcium reactor, you know. I'm not using it right now, but there will be a point where we need to use it, you know. So and I'm pretty sure about that. So yeah, it's that this is the way it works, you know. So realistically, yes, you know, it is possible, but very rare, very rare. I thought that to be true also. Long gone the days of calcium reactors, mate. Yes, that's the point though. That's the point. Well, I think they're coming back. I think they're coming back. Look, it's gone up and down, right, Sean. It's not always the same. Our hobby was not always the same. Now people are talking about, like 7 years ago, I started you know, testing organic carbon, and nobody was interested in it. Now all of a sudden everybody wants to know organic carbon, you know, like it's just a hobby. So people just talk it. And when they talk too much about one thing, then they focus on bacteria and organic carbon. They forget about calcium and alkalinity, you know? That's the way it is. So 500 liter tanks, CO2 scrubbers, refugium, 230 each of, yeah, that's a lot. Full of aquaporin. Yes, possible. That's a lot. What the pH will go up too, you know. So when the pH starts creeping up, you literally know that there is no reactive CO2 left for the core 7 to react to immediately. So that's also a sign for you that you're running low on CO2. You know, it is definitely possible, Sean. Like I said. All right. Yeah, mad. Yeah, yeah. Time for CO2. Time for a calcium reactor. That's when I would do it. Yeah, yeah. You know. That's it's time, man. Look, it's stressing them out a bit, the coral. They're bleached because they don't have enough fuel for their zooxanthellae anymore, but they want more, you know. That's an issue. And if you add a little tiny bit, you'll see you. And you need to run, so you be careful, because you need to watch your KH too. As soon as you lower that amount, right, it might be you need less core 7. I mean the pH, right? So as soon as you, because you have more reactive possibility. So right now it's like it's like a battery. It's waiting to get your real alkalinity. It's sometimes not making, you know, it's hard to explain, but just watch when you start, if you want to start doing CO2 in the tank a little bit, then also watch how much you dose. It should go down. It should be less than at one point. Your KH will go up, you know, by adding, because CO2 is carrying the carbon, you know. So you add CO2, you add carbon, and carbon is the stuff that all the alkalinity is made out of. You, if I explain it like that, you understand it maybe a bit better. You know, good. All right, all right. So oh yeah, Instagrams. No worries, Jose. So did you catch Serious Reef's review last week on Triton Core 7 product? You guys knocked it out the park. Oh, nice. I should get Rainer a bottle of something. Nice. Thank you, mate. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah, now somebody said Albert told me right away. He was on Messenger saying really good, but still couldn't watch it. So I need to watch it. That would be good. And reefing with always on. Oh, how are you doing, man? Reefer Kuwait. What's the cause of acro tips burning? Normally low zinc. Reefer Refaq. So Kuwait. So you end up having a lot of growth, and for the growth, the problem with aquapora growth is or actually any kind of coral growth is that it creates acidic environment when they do that. So they create CO2 when they grow, and that's acid, and that's not good for them. So they have an enzyme that's protecting them from that CO2, from that acid, and they grow on their tips. Like they're not grown anywhere else. So they're grown on the tips, acropora, and when they grow, they produce the acid right on the tips, and then there's an enzyme, but that enzyme only works if there's zinc around, because zinc is the kind of fuel for that enzyme to work. So then when the enzyme doesn't work, your tips start dying off. They literally do not burn. They die. And that is one of the main reasons I found in tanks. So you should use a little bit of zinc, Matt, if you can. And it should stop. And other reasons is simple bleaching, or heavy metals that can cause, but normally the whole coral is affected then. Also the wrong light can be, but that's more non-LED. So if you have LED lights, it shouldn't happen. So yeah, it starts with the zinc. I think that's a better way to do it, and then see if it's get better. Normally it gets better. We had the same thing here in the public aquariums of Cairns, and it took just 2 days or something, and it looks better already. And I always look for a week. So a week, and you should see something on it. Yeah, it doesn't matter what really ATI, whatever you use there, light wise, because in the past it could have happened. The metal halide lights and the fluorescent bulbs, the T5s, they produce UVC. They produce a UV light that is very harmful even for us, and they have a coating, and that coating is like a UV blocking coating. But in some cases, people was using stuff imported from other countries. They had it's not very controlled. It wasn't very controlled, and in some cases this coating just burns away over time, and then the UVC hits the coral, and then the tips are the ones that are a bit more sensitive to that because they're just new polyp grown, and then you said burn, because back then nobody was knowing about zinc too, right? So, but that's why I'm saying if you use LED, there's no UV produced in LED, so no UVB or C. So UVA maybe, but not too much. That's not dangerous too. So that's why I just said that with the lights, So yeah, increase it a little bit. Just dose it one time. It's enough. It's staying there. Just go from there. Just use zinc a little bit, then should be fine. Okay, so what else? Oh, do you have a question? Oh, do you have a question, mate? Anybody? Because otherwise I'm gonna wrap this up. Hey, this was a slow start, but then it kind of exploded. Let's see what else. Reefing with me is on. Hey, mate. Thank you. Very nice words from you for the graduation and stuff. Oh, yeah. So it was graduation. It was formal. So prom. Lani killed it, and Linda killed it because of all the competition things. So she got second place. She got second place. She kept her breath in static for 5 minutes and 51 seconds. and that got her second place, which is absolutely crazy, just to let you know. But Lani also got a scholarship for JCU for, you know, James Cook University. So yeah, I don't know. It's this week was awesome. Yeah, no problem. Always, Aqua Killer. Always. You're always very welcome. Always good to have you on, mate, and your questions. And yes, I think. Oh wait, Sean. Oh, here you go. Sean said interesting talk about zinc with tip burn. Could zinc be a tool to help acclimate deep water aquapora such as Carduus granulosa or caroliniana to aquarium light? Nah. Caroliniana looks much better with zinc. Mine was looking much better like in the past, but I don't think you can adapt it with zinc. You should always have it available a little bit, you know, like, and it's not a hard one. Zinc is keeping in the tank for a while, you know. It's not like you need to dose it every day or something because you're afraid of just gone. Yeah, but now I think adaptation wise, that's too far. You can try and let me know, Sean. You higher zinc levels and stuff, but I think in the moment, theory wise, I would say no. Don't think you can adapt them with it. You know, there's other things more important for this coral. They're very sensitive to a lot of things. But look, my Echinara is under 400 par. It's growing like crazy. Just telling you, it's looking amazing too. It's really good. So last question, Sean, and then I'll wrap this up. No, yeah, she got 6 minutes, Gloria. 6 minutes is her personal best. That's scary. No, shark is scary. It's scary when your wife lies next to you in bed and do not breathe for 5 or 6 minutes. That is scary. I'll just tell you. so so what do we have? Yeah. Putang, you're too late. Putang, mate. Next time come in early and ask your questions. Okay, so last questions for me. What is the most surprising element you have found out on a natural reef whilst testing? I don't know if I want to share that, Sean. I don't want to share that. Listen, it's like when you find something like that, and you imagine my face go crazy, everything goes, and then I'll go back and test it again to make sure was there. Um, I wanna say that. It's it's all the work I'm doing is for this moment. I'm not going to share that like right away and just tell the world, and then somebody comes up and said, "Oh, look, I have this element now for sale," you know, because that's what's going to happen, man. I'm, I'm not going to tell you which element that was, and then other people just go, "Oh, woke up," you know. Ehsan said this element, so now let's put it in the tank. I could actually bring a fake one up and see who will jump on the train and just say, "Hey, now we have this awesome new product found in the ocean, in the reefs, and this is gonna be the thing," you know. Anyway, okay, so Mina is asking another question. It's all right. So one more. And Sean understands what I'm saying. Yep. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Now, at one point, I'm working on a patent. At one point, I can share more. You know, I'm working on a patent. I really don't want to just put stuff out there and then people take it all the time and use it in a way that I don't like it. You know, that's the main thing. I like an honest way of dealing with things, and I don't. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Any advice on how to get flow dialed in? Hard to know if I have enough or not. That's something you learn, Mina. That is nothing where I could put a value on. That's something I go in my lab. The um I look at my tank and I know, and then I'm like, yeah. And every time, Mina, where your corals start growing and they grow bigger, they will change the flow in your tank. They will grow as they like, as best for them, depending on that flow. So you're better off when they're already grown out in future, I'm telling you, you're better off not changing the positions of these flow pumps, right? So I will do it the one last time, and I freaked out when I need to do it the last time. And I said to Sean, "You're not touching the flow when I'm not there." Okay, so just to let you know, it's a very crucial thing, because when they're grown, they have grown adapted to that flow that is always similar in an aquarium. And if you change that, you might change a very important thing for them, and then you can get really big problems. So what you do is you put them somewhere, and you need to be able to add on them, because what they do is they're breaking that. The corals break flow, they break waves, right? It's a Great Barrier Reef, right? So what they do is they grow and they destroy any kind of flow. Sitting behind the reef with a boat is so beautiful. Sitting in front of the reef, you're permanently stressed out and shaky. Just to let you know, that's what happens. They reduce it. They reduce any kind of flow. And that is what you need to understand and work with. So you go, and if it's good if you have in the beginning stronger pump, you're using them only at 50%. Then by time, I'll tell you, you need to raise that amount. That is the best way to do it. Or adding pumps to the tank is also a good way to do it. But don't change the positions, very important. And otherwise you look, if it's too much, normally there is a specific hair algae, a brown one, brownish green one, growing, and you see how much flow that is, and a coral can't cope with that flow and kind of starts building a wall. I can make a picture of one of my corals doing that right now. And if it's too low, then often you have bleach. Because the coral can't get rid of some stuff that they normally get rid of, and they normally have bleach. But the problem is, though, when they grow, then they cause that breakage and that stagnant water. Some of them are very dense, so that's a learning curve. It's something you need to get used to. You can send pictures, I can advise you, you can ask me here, but it is something you learn, a little bit like people having a nice garden, seen on their on their plants, on their leaves, if they need to add fertilizer. It's something you learn all the time. So Theo, oh Theo, how are you in Singapore, my friend? I hope you're good. It's very early in the morning, Theo. I hope you're not in Singapore. All right. So Gloria said it's insane. I'm just saying that to Linda. I think she probably read it. All right. All right, guys. I will wrap it up now. I think there's no more questions. We ran a quite long time. That was cool, really cool one. And I have this new view on YouTube, so I want to check that out afterwards. Thank you very much for your questions, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you for the congratulations to whatever happened this week. Next week would be interesting because I'm going out on the boat and I'm taking the samples and I'm doing some stuff. So, yes, if anything comes up in your mind, write it down. Come to the lives here. I'm doing them anyway, and we'll run this together, and I'll answer you whatever you want. Very transparent, as good as I can. Not all of Russell's, on Sean's questions, not all of them, but some of them. And then we go from there. Okay, and watch out for that video. I'm trying really this week to get that video done for 6 months, the 6 months video of the tank. All right. I hope you have a great weekend, guys. Have a good Sunday. I'm out of here. Take care.